Heyo, Patrick.
How are you getting on, buddy?
I see this video that you wanted to look at here. It looks like Heretics with Jamie Gold. Interviewing.
Yeah, it's a small piece out of a larger interview. It's a very good interview, by the way. I'll leave the links down below.
So Connie Shaw, what's her deal there, bud?
She was a university student, and towards her last year, you're putting together your final year project and so on. She ran into a bit of trouble by interviewing the wrong people on her own podcast outside of university. She was also working on a university type radio / podcast.
The wrong people? What's defined as the wrong people, Patrick?
Well, people with conservative views, apparently. Or anti-trans views and so on. But she interviewed them on her own private podcast outside of university.
So there are people in the marketplace of ideas who we're not allowed to listen to, and we can't hear their opinion. Is that the standpoint of the university she was affiliated with, although not doing a podcast?
Yeah, the university. The university Leeds. She ran into a good bit of. Yeah, she ran into a lot of trouble.
That and sounds like it's somewhere in the British Isles in the UK, specifically.
Yes. Yes, but it's you can a lot of universities are pretty much the same kind of worldwide at the moment, especially in the G7 countries, even in G20 countries, as a matter of fact.
Well, social Marxism and ideological capture. We watched James Lindsay on that. We've got a pretty good handle on it. The Frankfurt School, all that. All right, so let's let this thing cook a little. See what's up.
The most shocking question out of all of the very shocking questions they asked me, the most shocking question was caveated with, this investigation is not about your right to hold gender critical views. However,
Well, they're questioning her rights pre-question?
Yes. So the build up to this is she was brought in for a meeting with her head of school.
Like the dean or something? Or her
so whether it be the head of her specific department / school, whatever.
Okay. Some authority figure in the administration has some issues.
But it'd be more of a panel of people.
A panel?
So it'd be so the way normally, the way it works in Ireland is it'd be your head of school, your head of department, your own specific class / year, and then there'll be a third administration staff in there as well from the university.
Probably
usually 3 to 4 people. Yeah,
HR, DEI type maybe?
No, not really when it comes to student matters like this.
In the United States, that panel would have a DEI person on it 100%. 100%. If it was about your views, it would be, Well, I told you the administrative apparatus in the United States university system is disgusting. It used to be that most of this monies for the school went to teaching children how to critically think, right? And I say children, they've achieved their majority, they're young adults. Yeah. But functionally, based on the interaction they've had, they function as children because in modern society, this entitled thing that we have, and you're never going to get offended, and these kinds of things basically break down the structure. So they're children, and then they're led down the primrose path of, DEI. Equity is not the best. Equality of opportunity is amazing, but equity is horrific. So, yeah, that's how it would go here. So a 3-person panel, you get the head of her department, the head of her school, and some other third party. Yeah,
there'll be another person in there. That's usually the way it normally works.
Right. Well, generally speaking, when you're going to go see a panel, it's a bad thing. It reminds me of a parole board, like it always has that kind of feel, right?
It's official but unofficial. It's universities work in their own set of rules in a lot of cases.
Yeah, academia is just...
they're very much a fiefdom onto their own. Right. She was very clever. She didn't go there on her own. She brought a friend, which is very important, by the way. Well, never go to any... If you're summoned for any meeting of any sort, never go on your own.
Well, academia is insulated from a lot of the woes and ills of society, right? It's the ivory tower.
It is, but it can also be sued. They forget that part too.
It can, in fact, be sued as a public entity, of course. All right.
Yes.
We got 10 seconds in and I had to say something. You're right. I might have some opinions here. Okay.
You might have some opinions.
It'd be a long 12 minutes or 11 or 10, 27. This is going to get hairy. All right, here we go.
Do you maintain an inclusive environment at LSR when your choice to publicly post your views makes some people feel unincluded?
Oh my. So inclusivity, right? There isn't any way to include everyone in everything, right? It's statistically impossible.
If you're going to have an opinion, which when I was in university, you're encouraged to have your own independent thinking and thoughts, which is not too long ago, actually. But unfortunately, in this modern age, you have a tendency, no matter what you say, to offend someone along the way.
Right. So they're asking for the impossible. They want someone to be super inclusive, but also...
In her specific case, she was also working with the student union as well.
Right.
But in her also, where they're talking about what's going on here right now, she was outside the student union in her own time, recording her own projects.
Okay.
Yeah. But unfortunately, somebody on the panel is very upset, as you're going to find out.
Well, it's mutual exclusivity. You can't, or it'd be so bland it would be non-functional. Like you're not manipulating concepts if you never say something that offends people.
And
right?
the funny thing is, one of the people she was interviewing at the time was actually himself.
Right. What was he? Remember when Jordan Peterson was talking about that? Oh man, what was that episode? He was talking about, there was an interview he did in the UK, and she's a pretty big thing over there. And he said to her, "You have no problem offending me with your line of questioning. Why is it that I should be bound to not offend you?" Right? Everybody's going to get offended at some point.
I remember that interview, yeah.
Is it Kathy Harris?
I think it is. If I remember right, this many years ago now.
Yeah. Well,
I do remember that particular interview.
Afterward, he said in another interview, he shouldn't have said gotcha to her. He should have just let her work it out, because once you say gotcha, then they're like, and then they don't continue on that line of thought.
Yeah, then they shut down and all that. Yeah, I remember him being interviewed afterwards. Yeah, he did kind of regret a bit of it.
Right.
A small bit of it.
Well, yeah. Well, he was backed into a corner, and he's like, "Hey, you don't get to have carte blanche, and then I can't return. You don't get to shoot at me, and I don't get to shoot back." Right.
Exactly.
So, all right, here we go.
God. So I was just like, "Are you joking?" Yeah. Anyway, that meeting happened, and I didn't hear anything back for about a month. And eventually they came back to me and said, "So we've concluded that actually you were able to carry out your committee position in the same way, because one of the allegations was that I basically had a conflict of interest because I was also technically in charge of the LGBTQ hour, but because of my opinions, I couldn't possibly be able to oversee a show like that."
Wait, an LGBTQ hour?
Yeah, most universities have that, say, on their podcast radio stations and so on. They would have one once a week and so on.
Oh, okay.
A lot of universities like that.
So not every day.
But she was overseeing all the projects within that specific department.
So she was functioning.
That was one of the parts
right.
of it.
So she was functionally student managing the other broadcasters.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
But she worked away in her job. She was quite good at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that I'd put the health and safety of other members at risk. That was part of the reason why I was suspended, not allowed to step foot into the office, had to remove myself from all of the group chats, even though it was also meant to be kept confidential. So how am I meant to do this, but also not tell anyone what was going on? I knew from the very beginning that everyone knew that I'd been suspended.
So her reputation is functionally destroyed, even if she's let back. So the punishment is the process again.
Yes, pretty much.
So you're removed from your capacity.
Yeah. And she's, as she said there, everyone in the university knows. The universities are like small little tiny towns.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
the gossip is gross.
Yeah.
But it seems like every state agency has that. Every state agency I've interacted with.
Every state agency, every job, everywhere is going to have that. There's always going to be gossip around the water cooler, as they say.
I think the other problem with that is, we talked about it before, there isn't any real free speech in a corporate space or free expression. There are things you just can't say. I would say to anyone, treat your job as a job. Right.
Go into your job, do your job, get paid, go home. There's no point. They're not your buddies. They're not your friends.
Right.
These are just people you work with.
Well, right. They have no obligation to keep you safe. It's up to you. The person in charge of your career and your function and your moving forward in life is you. It's not up to them.
I've seen so many people talk themselves out of a job.
Right. Career suicide, because they can't shut their hole. You need to stop making noises with your face, because they have to interact with you with the things that you say. And if they can use that to put a knife in your back and they'll get ahead, they'll do it. It's the nature of humans.
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
But if you keep it cordial and professional, you'll be fine.
Yeah, go in, do your job, get paid, go home. That's it.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Word gets around, and actually, it was so awful because I was okay because I was already in the Women's Rights Network. I knew a lot of people who were involved in free speech circles in London. I had a lot of people in the background supporting me, which I don't think people at the time, or at least LSR, didn't know about. No one at the committee reached out to me. They would always the
Is LSR Leeds University, or is that the radio station?
Yeah. That'd be Leeds University. Yeah, she was part of the Women's Network, which are free speech advocates in the UK.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Women and so on, women's rights, and they're kind of catch-all. They're really good charity.
Like when Keir Starmer told President Trump that they were super proud of their free speech that they have there in the United Kingdom. I remember that. So proud. So proud.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this young lady found out the hard way. Well, she was lucky she was part of that network at the time.
Right.
Because you can imagine if she wasn't, the process would have absolutely crushed her, I would say.
Right. All ability to function in society and achieve her career goals would have evaporated. All right.
Yeah.
Union would say, oh, there's all these mental health support available for you. It's like, why would I go to the union who've just treated me like this for mental health support, and each and every one of you is signing your names off with your pronouns? Like, it felt like in general as like an atheist being tried by evangelical Christians.
Yeah. Why would it be the case that she would require mental health assistance?
Well, a lot of universities send that email to cover themselves legally. Oh, look, if anything bad happens, well, look, we sent the counseling email and so on. It's basically cover your backside email.
Well, no, I understand that, but this is a marketplace of ideas. This has nothing to do with mental health. She just believes a thing different from what you believe. It doesn't mean that she's mentally deficient or that she's going through some anxiety or depression cycle.
You have to remember, this email was sent about 4 weeks after that initial meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But she has all this stuff constantly built. As you said, the process is the punishment.
Well, right. But if they were serious about it, they would have sometime, I would say in the next 48 hours, if they determined that there might have been a mental health risk, that they would have gotten on that a whole lot sooner. Like, we've deemed that there's a possibility, even though, we're not mental health professionals, but we know better than you, and you need this because, well, functionally, we're doing a bad thing to you. We're punishing you with that process.
Yes.
We're trying to destroy you, but in the interim, we're going to give you mental health assistance. That's a offhand compliment, kind of, but it's really just a slap in the face, right? It's
really, really ridiculous. A lot of universities do this, and I've seen a lot of students fall on the bad side of universities as well, and they just get absolutely crushed.
Right, for exerting some kind of individuality in the marketplace of ideas. Okay. Fair enough.
Sort of is like that.
Well, yeah, it is a religion.
Well, we talked about that the other day, the non-religious religious fervor, right? And if you're not part of the group doing the rituals the group is doing and saying the thing the other people are saying and becoming somewhat less of an individual, then you're not part of the group, and we will other you. And once we other you, we can treat you however the hell we want because you're not part of the group anymore. And you see quite a lot in a lot of universities are very much like this, especially academia. They're very much, we're better than everyone else kind of. Right, it's the ivory tower thing, right? Yeah, we're insulated from the rest of society. So. Yep.
Bloody hell. Okay, and so this was this terrible treatment. You then became this like name on campus, like, because when I was there, I was like, "What do you think about the Connie Shaw thing?" To everyone, and they're like, "Oh well, let me tell you." And some people were quite reasonable actually, and then a lot of them were not, and so on. And then so it went beyond Leeds Student Radio, didn't it? It went into like actual university stuff then.
Yeah. So when I first got the email telling me that I had been suspended, a week after that, I got an email from the head of my department. So this is now separate from the student union. Everyone knows that student unions are tyrannical, but this was from the university. And I was called in by him for an informal chat. And he also linked the policy about dignity and respect. And I clicked on the link and it went straight to a page about what happens when a student harasses, bullies, or victimizes a member of staff.
So the staff can say they're offended as well. And once the staff says they're offended, then I can drop this disciplinary thing on you and cause you more distress.
Because you have to remember, she's a student So a member of staff is behind us. Really is a driving force behind us.
So there's an individual on staff at Leeds University who decided that they were bullied by concepts and ideas that they didn't agree with from Ms. Shaw, and they decided to drop a bomb on her head. That's tyrannical. That is tyrannical.
Well, you're going to see. Well, I know you haven't seen this video. I have. I know your opinion. I know what you're going to say the minute you find out what's going on. I actually already know what you're going to say, and you're right. It is very much I'm offended. I'm really offended by your ideas that you put forward. I'm going to go after you.
Well, if someone comes at me with the marketplace of ideas, that's cool. But if they bring legal things into it,
the marketplace of ideas in universities, that ship has sailed, I say, about 20 odd years ago.
Well, 1992-ish, 93, right in that time frame, at least in the United States.
Yeah, it's definitely sailed many years.
That's functionally when we got fully ideologically captured.
The minute a student stands up to a professor, that student might as well kiss their career goodbye.
Or their ability even achieve that.
Achieve
the degree they're going for. Change your name, move somewhere else, buy a new identity, try again.
Yeah,
they don't have that kind of money or contacts. Right?
Yeah. At that point, I was pretty certain the philosophy department did not have any idea about the fact that I'd been suspended from LSR, because no one did, because it was literally a week after, or even a few days after. I think I was originally suspended from LSR on the 30th of October, and I got this email on the 5th of November. So as far as
remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason plot.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew the minute you said the 5th of November.
I was aware.
But it's strange that her own department did not know that she was suspended from student radio.
Well, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it looks like all the departments are not synced up at all.
Well, that was what I was pursuing in college, was a degree in philosophy, and then I realized that degrees in philosophy make you a lawyer or a librarian, and I didn't want to represent people or mess with their books, and the information age rated, so you don't need that.
Or in this modern age, a philosophy degree will either make you a journalist or a McDonald's employee.
Well, and also I didn't want to learn the Dewey Decimal System.
Students out there, I know I'm being a bit flippant.
Well, I didn't want to learn the Dewey Decimal System either, so there was that.
Oh, ooh, look what you were using, the fancy words.
Right. Look it up, kids. Learn something. The Dewey Decimal System. You'll learn it and you'll love it.
Oh no, you won't.
And I asked the head of the department who'd emailed me, why do you want to speak to me? Obviously, I was assuming that it was the same reason why I'd got in trouble at LSR, because of this article I'd written. And he replied to me saying that he didn't explain why. He assumed that I knew why, and I did. And my assumption was correct. He named my lecturer, who I wrote about in this article, as one of the examples as to why it's very difficult to be a gender critical student at university. And for context, in that article, I wrote about how I was doing feminist philosophy as one of my modules, and one of the lecturers, because it was split between two, happened to be a man who identifies as a woman. I didn't name him, but I explained how not only is 40% of the module about gender ideology, and this is a feminist, I think there should be a whole separate module for gender ideology.
Sure.
I'm not saying we shouldn't learn about it. God, I love talking and learning about it. But it felt really annoying to be doing feminist philosophy, have 40% of it basically debating whether men can be women.
Yeah.
No.
And so there was that, and the fact that the essay questions felt as though they were really pushing students in a certain direction, and sort of the premise being that transphobia exists and transphobia is a real thing. And I know that you can disagree with the premise of a question, but when the person who might be marking it doesn't only agree with the idea, but actually embodies it, as a gender critical student, you might be quite nervous.
Quite nervous is an understatement.
That's definitely an understatement. Imagine
you're back in a
she wouldn't. Yeah, that there is no. You're on about the marketplace of ideas. You can't have a marketplace of ideas if you can't speak your mind
Well, you're going to have to give them what they want, but it might not be what you think is correct or that you've reasoned through, right?
I remember my time in university, and the reason I did so well in university is I played the specific lecturers' egos. Because they're very egotistical.
Oh yeah. You read their books, you find out what their bent is, and then that's how you push your stuff.
And you play up to it. You play the game, as they say. But this young lady, unfortunately, she's backed into a corner.
Right, because syllogistically, she can't come up with an appropriately evidence-based conclusion. Right? No. She can say, look, premise 1, premise 2, premise 3, I have a conclusion that is true and correct. And the instructor, regardless of the soundness of the logic, she's in philosophy. She knows how that works. Reduction of fallacies, syllogistic reasoning, and she'll give a good, right answer for the premises that she's presented that has only one true conclusion. But he'll just say no. He'll just say no, and then you're wrong, even though you have the appropriate basis for your opinion, right?
Like, she could turn around with all the good intentions in the world and fail.
Right.
Straight up.
Oh yeah.
There's no way she's going to pass. If she wrote anything disagreeing with that professor on her final paper or final project, forget about it. She has no hope in the world.
Yeah, that's her grade eating its gun. It's done. Right?
Yes.
That's you're committing academic suicide at that point. Yeah, well, it's academic suicide, which means you're going to reduce options upon graduation. Right?
Exactly.
So, insane. Here we go.
Just as I would be sort of genuinely a bit skeptical as an atheist to write a philosophy of religion essay, knowing that the marker was a really fundamental Christian. That's the issue with philosophy. You never know how much someone's biased. And I'm sure most markers would say, of course, I'm objective. It's about how well you argue. But to me, I'm genuinely not that sort of philosophically minded. But to me, I was like, well, if it's a good argument, you'll be convinced by it, sort of thing.
Apparently not. Apparently folks won't be convinced. Isn't that strange?
Yes. It's nearly impossible to convince someone whose mind is already set in stone.
Oh, they've been sold a bill of goods, good goods, bad goods, non-existent goods, whatever, right? There are things you and I disagree on, and we're still in process of talking through them. And we might not agree, but we're not going to hate the other guy, or I'm going to burn your house down. That's the nature.
That's the nature of the world. No matter how much you disagree with the other person, you still listen to them. Doesn't mean you have to take their opinions on board, but you still listen to their ideas.
Well, I like it when you tell me I'm wrong. That way I can maybe learn something, and maybe you teach me something, or I can be like, well, here's why I think what I think. And
it's interesting.
Here's the expression everybody loves, Patrick. You know what? We should just sit down with a pint. Remember that fella in the comments who was just like, you guys are buttheads because nobody does it. I'm like, well, maybe if you did, if you just sat down and listened to somebody, maybe it would help.
Yeah.
After a couple of beers, it becomes a little less important to be right and a little more important to be social.
Sometimes that works, and sometimes it won't work because they're so dug into their beliefs, they'll never change their mind.
Yeah.
As you say, they've been sold a bill of goods. That's it.
Sad news. All right, let's go back to Ms. Shaw.
So that was all I was getting at.
Yeah.
But I was called in for this informal interview or informal meeting, and he said that your lecturer doesn't want to take this any further.
What's funny about that is when they say informal meeting, if that meeting has has the possibility of a formal grievance, it's a formal meeting.
Yes.
Wear your suit and tie or your best skirt and blouse, because you better
bring an independent friend with you.
And a recording device. And a recording device.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and put this recording device up here and record this conversation. I just want to make sure that when we're done here, I know what was said. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I sometimes blind carbon copy the person I'm emailing boss so they can, fail in real time.
Yes. I always CC everyone.
Boss, you said this. No, I didn't. Hey, boss's boss, he said this. And he did say this. So therefore, I'm confused. What's policy versus the thing I was told to do, right? Even when I was in a couple of jobs, I used to always, when we go in for these informal chats, I would always follow up with an informal email afterwards. Absolutely. That is such a great idea.
That's for our conversation. Yeah.
Hey, so glad I could get that thing to your office and that we could talk about the meeting on Thursday that we're supposed to be working on stuff together. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was great to chat today at the water cooler about XYZ. It was awesome.
Yeah. That's part of our conversation, as they say.
You still owe me €5 for the Manchester game. Whatever, right? Go Chelsea. Anyway.
We just want to proceed with mutual respect and kindness and be able to discuss difficult topics in a nuanced way. And he said that this guy didn't mind gender critical views being expressed. So I thought, okay, great, it's just me general chat. So I went and I asked if I could bring a friend, the same friend that I took to the meeting with Leeds Student Radio.
If it was informal, the answer should have been immediately yes, please.
And I'm so glad I did, because the things that were said in that meeting were really quite shocking. One being that I had mentioned that on this module, there was one gender critical paper on the reading list. And I said, surely that's not fair when this is a really hotly debated topic and you're really not showing both sides. We're debating within gender ideologies in how do we define a woman on the premise that a woman isn't an adult human female, but we didn't actually discuss gender.
You know what? That's pretty much enough of a descriptor for me. It seems to work. You know, for the last few 100,000 years.
Yeah, but if you're, as she was saying, if you're in a philosophy module, you should debate both sides, agree or disagree, but you should
right
research both sides, no matter what your personal opinion is. You should always look at both sides of every argument.
When you were in university and you took a course and there was a reading list, I remember there always being 7, 8, 9. I had an English lit course that had probably 13 or 14, their entire books to read. You know, like the entire thing. That's where you got to get the cliff notes because you're going to run out of time. And, you know, you got a theology class or something, or comparative religion, which you're like, okay, I got a pretty good handle on this. But then there's that one class every semester. Didn't even have to be like a 5-unit class. It could be a 3-unit class, but you just have a real prick for a professor. And you're like, oh my God.
Oh, I remember coming across a few of those in my university days. And the funny thing is, I was a mature student at the time, so I was older than some of the professors.
Oh, nice.
And so they didn't quite know how to handle older students because they couldn't talk down. They couldn't talk down to like 18, 19-year-olds.
Right.
So they were very delicate with us because they just didn't know how to engage with another person who's older than them, arguing back with them.
As an adult student, I took a women's studies class. I got kicked out in the third class.
I could not imagine you doing one of those.
I was the only male in the room, and I became everybody's kick toy. Right?
Oh,
what do you think, Alex? I'm like, you don't want to know what I think. Yeah, we do. Get on up here and say your thing. Okay, you're not going to on the third one. The teacher said, go to the dean. You're done. I was like, why?
Yes, I was about to say, I'm surprised you lasted even that long.
Well, I didn't talk in the first one because it was just syllabus and rubric and all that stuff. The second one, they started on the whole men are evil and patriarchy. And at the time when I went, patriarchy wasn't the word. It was just male dominated was the expression that they used. Okay. And on the third one, I was like, hey, here's what's going on with child support in the United States. How does this feel? Does this feel pretty fair? Does it feel pretty good? It doesn't feel good to me. And they're like, get out of here. Like literally, like there were females standing up in the classes screaming at me. I was like, what is this? I'm saying words, right? I'm not threatening you with violence. I'm like, here's the reality of the world. This is what's going on in your society. And you're saying it's a good thing. And they're like, it is a good thing. Deadbeat dad, pay the money, la, la, la. I was like, literally rip children from fathers for an extended period of time because you can't legislate what generally is understood that women bring to a relationship. But men can be taken for all of their money and time and then have to pay more. Then they get a second job because they're trying to pay all their bills and the child support, right? And then they go back to court to get more money because the man's making more money. He's just trying to make ends meet. So the goalpost either gets removed and you can never get there, or the goalpost that, a 100-yard field becomes a 500-yard field and he's never going to make it. He just gets crushed. Exactly. And they didn't like that opinion. They thought I was being critical of women. I'm like, no, I'm critical of the system that you can help change. You're adult voting people. You could say, I don't accept this. And at that point, the professor was like, you got to go. I was like,
you're done at that stage. I'll be honest.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't walk out of the class and go, "Bitch, you look like a potato with spectacles." Like, I wasn't nasty. I was like, "Yes, ma'am," and I just immediately left. Right? But you and your friggin' boo in here with your Hawaiian patterns and flowers, you're killing me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it was that time. Oh no.
Oh, and she had the rottenest perfume you've ever smelled, dude. It smelled like rotting fruit. I was like, "What?"
Are you sure it was the perfume? I'm sorry.
Whatever it was not an enjoyable experience. I felt targeted. I felt like a victim. No, I didn't really. I was just like, that's just crap. And then the punishment was the process. I was literally going to get kicked in the teeth like for an entire semester. And I was like, I don't need your 3 units. I went and got a philosophy class to round that out. But it was just horrible. But I can feel her pain. Like, I can feel this. Like, this is visceral, dude. Yeah. Right, informal, formal meetings. Somebody's feelings were hurt. We're gonna have a big meeting about it. Are you kidding me? Why don't you just go, hey, our university doesn't believe that you should have any kind of freedom of thought, and you have to write papers just like this with only one book on the reading list and agree with it. Why don't you just say that? Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know what? Why put a veil over it? Why obfuscate it at all? Just say this is how we do things here, and if you want a degree, this is what you do to get the degree.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, here we go.
The critical ideas on the face of it. And he said to me, well, if students want more to read, they can always ask. And I said, well, why is that up to a student? And he said that I really underestimated my peers. And he said, oh yeah, I know you think everyone's been brainwashed. I was like, oh, so it really felt like I was being mocked for how.
Bro, talking about getting gaslit. That dude lit a fire.
Yeah. Ooh. That's what I'm saying. Oh. He was, look, she brought an independent person with her.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. That way they can verify the veracity of what Ms. Shaw was saying in that meeting. Oh, my God. Oh.
That is so, that person is so unprofessional. It's ridiculous.
Right, but they're put in that position because of the ivory tower and the insulation of the academia, right? Like, nothing can touch me. I've got tenure. Ooh.
Yeah, well, you can still get sued. Just bear that in mind.
Yeah. Somebody's going to get litigious, baby.
Strident, I felt.
Is what, the head of the
philosophy department, yeah. So there was that. And the other thing was that he said, no one's ever complained about this module before. And I said, that doesn't mean that there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, look what happened.
Sounds like a maiden voyage, right? First time everybody's ever complained about anything ever in the history of anything, huh? They're blazing a path.
But not being smart, I think the reason why no one ever complained, because most students just keep their heads down.
Or they agree with it. Or they agree with it, so they're not going to. Right?
Yeah, most college students will never, ever question a professor.
Well, why would you? They're an authority figure. They just spent 12 or 13 years in a system that beat them down and said, sit still, listen to what we're telling you, do the thing we say. Yep. And in academia, at least in your formal education for elementary and secondary school, it's a huge percentage of females. So you spend 12 or 13 years satisfying female egos to give them what they want, and then you get to university and you've already been beat down, right? So
yeah, because that's what I was saying earlier on with when it came to university lecturers when they were dealing with mature students. They just couldn't talk down to us. And when we started talking back to them, they just didn't know how to handle it most of the times. They didn't handle it at all. Well, I wouldn't say they handled it badly.
You would ever talk back to an instructor or professor like that, sir. You seem like such a reasonable fellow.
It was just the course I was doing at the time. I had a lot of experience in it.
Right.
And
was that the business class? The one where your instructor's like, it works like this? And you're like, no, I run businesses. No. It doesn't work like that.
Really? I spent 20 plus years in this industry. I know how it really works. This is how it. But this book, that book I said was written in 1992.
Yeah, that dog don't hunt. That thing's done.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is the way it normally works. And I said, if you don't believe me, I said you can use Google. There's plenty of other modern resources out there.
Or leave the university and get a real job. How about that?
Well, this particular lecturer went from doctorate straight into the same university. So he started did his 4 years, then he did his master's, then he did his doctorate, then he got a job in the same university. So yes, he's never worked in the real world, this particular guy.
Wow. Yeah, that's not a good person to, put the bit in their mouth and have them lead. That is not the lead.
Quite an interesting character. Yeah. Yeah, very interesting character to put back in the box.
I like it.
And to you, that's why people.
I know, exactly. And he said that's what a paranoid person would say. I don't know what he meant by that. I think maybe he thought I sort of knew I was in trouble, so I needed to try and make out that someone else was at fault. The worst thing he said was, I've been friends with Kathleen Stock for 25 years. If she can be respectful, why can't you?
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's a perception thing. Again, you can't make everybody happy all the time, and you can't avoid insulting someone, or someone will perceive anything you say as slightly off color because of their perception and their space, right? So again, you can't be inclusive 100% every time, unless it's buttered toast, and nobody really likes just buttered toast, right? Unless you have an Irish stew, then it's really good, but it's super situational, right?
Also stew?
Yeah, buttered toast with stew. Yeah,
I normally have brown bread. I normally have brown bread.
Well, I got to sop up the gravy somehow, bud.
All right. Okay. All right.
There's just a method. Maybe it's just some weird California thing, but that's what I use, bud. But it sounded like this teacher, super beans on toast. Ugh.
Oh yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know what he was referring to because I wasn't actually aware of Kathleen Stock's stance on pronouns. But afterwards, it occurred to me that I think it was because in the article, I didn't name this lecturer who taught me feminist philosophy because it was just a general. I couldn't write about the issue without covering that.
Sure.
Like it felt so important to me, and it's about the ideas rather than, to me, like trans ideology. It's his belief about himself that I just don't share.
You can't be having, in my opinion, you can't be having a professor of feminist studies who's a guy who thinks he's a woman. That's absurd. That's absurd. Like just to start with, done. And I know, I mean, are there that many men who I don't even like men teaching it. Not just because of that kind of like, oh, come on, let's bring women up. It's just the kind of man who I just don't trust that guy.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing they're not really talking about here is those who are in that space because they're autogynephilic, and that is a bit of an issue too. So look that one up. It's a pretty interesting concept. Yeah.
Okay.
Hazakim, the doctor that worked at the Tavistock clinic and did groups on those who had gender concerns, gender identity disorder, gender dysphoria, stuff like that, talked to a lot of them. There tends to be a lot of autism in that spectrum of people who believe in that way, or they've been sold something that's the truth and the way to fix the problem when it isn't actually, right? And that's what we're talking about, Michael Schellenberger and the WPATH files and the standards of care and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it goes back to those kinds of things.
But the sad thing about this young lady, she definitely got on the wrong side of this particular professor, though, who is very much on board.
Well, he felt targeted, right?
Yes.
Because she said, this seems like a very awkward setup. Your apparent belief in this concept has to be at what would be considered a religious fervor.
Yeah, and I understand that she wrote the article. Well, bear in mind now, she wrote this article outside in her own private time on her own private network.
Right, but it still represents her opinion. And if that opinion is counter to what the moral and ethical compass of that university is, then they're going to have an opinion about it, right?
Yes, and obviously she was a student at the time, and it kind of gets very murky. But the fact that a professor went out of their way to go after a student really feels like you're punching down at that stage.
Right. Why can't you say, I realize your opinion is different than mine. Let's sit down and talk about it.
Or just not engage. Or here's an idea. Or maybe just not engage. Those are strange concepts.
Discretion? Exerting discretion, Patrick? Mr. McCallum, how dare you suggest that someone be reasonable?
Oh, yeah. We're definitely living in that kind of modern age where no one's kind of reasonable.
Yeah, that's absolute bullshit, sir. I can't even believe that you would say reasonableness would be the way to go. All right.
Sneaky man probably abuses women. I'm not talking about anyone specific before someone sues me, someone who's a feminist man, but the feminist men, they're violent.
Yeah. I do get what you mean. I wouldn't necessarily.
Simps, incels, or sneaky fuckers. That's the perception. Have you heard of the fish that they call sneaky fuckers?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Look it up. Look it up. I don't want to go.
I'm not going to look it up. I'm definitely not going to put that in.
No, it's an actual. It's an actual breeding strategy for some fish. It's an actual thing.
Okay, all right.
It's not. I know. I've suggested you look at things you didn't really like afterward, but this one is specifically a breeding strategy for certain kinds of fish. It's a legitimate breeding strategy. But
actually, it reminds me of some guys I used to know as well.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. You come to the appropriate conclusion.
Yes.
Right? Incel trying to get some. That's a breeding strategy.
They're the best friend type of guys who are.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I think we all met the best friend when we're going with a girl, and you're kind of going,
why is he even your friend? What?
Yeah, he's just creepy.
Yeah, he's just waiting in the leave for you to be like, oh my God, Patrick hurt me. I'm here to help you, baby. No, you're not.
Yeah, we have all met those guys. You're kind of going on. No.
You're just waiting your turn, Chief. Good luck. All right, here we go.
I don't really mind a man teaching it, but it felt like to be a man standing there saying, I'm a woman.
Imagine a guy doing teaching African studies who a white guy with just a black face.
I know. Well, it is. It's the same, is it not?
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can ask Trudeau about that one.
So I realised that comment was about Kathleen Stock's stance on pronouns, because she occasionally uses preferred pronouns, and I think she says something like it's up to the person, and it doesn't make you a good or a bad person. It's just a matter of your own conscience as to whether you choose whether to call someone by their and she sometimes chooses to use someone's preferred a man, call him she if that's what he wants. But the idea that was being used as leverage, and that even Kathleen Stock isn't like this. So even how dare you? This is meant to be your sort of leader in this side of philosophy, and you're going even further than she does. So that was really quite trying to use someone that I admire against me.
That's really strange. The preferred pronoun thing that's a very strange thing to bring someone up on, right? This is functionally how you decide to use language. It's not about disrespect.
The problem is the point she's getting to. It's a complete another kangaroo court. The best way to describe this.
Right.
The fact that they're just picking on every little nuance of her personal life is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's unhinged. That's not appropriate. What you do in your personal life should be your personal opinion. But again, the problem is that it still represents who you are if you put it into a public space, right? There isn't anything private on the internet anymore. There just isn't. So it's going to come out.
I remember last year was this some politician over in the UK, and he had a Twitter account. Every politician does. And the way you have hundreds of thousands of people that you follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
As a public person.
Mm-hmm.
He happened to follow a certain right-wing conservative, probably just, the way.
Oh, random click. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was absolutely now hung, drawn, and quartered over it. It's like you're guilty by association.
Right. Well, that's what they were talking about the last few years with deplatforming people. Don't bring them onto your show, don't interview them, don't anything. Because if you bring them on, you must agree with their opinion. Where the concept is I have some debate or interaction with you. I learn your views, you learn my views, and we kind of talk it through and see where we stand.
Very much very much like Joe Rogan's approach. He brings everyone on.
Oh yeah.
Even if he disagrees with them, he still brings them on his show.
He has seriously disagreed with a few people. And
what I'm trying to
but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but either way, he still brings them on. He's not going to be told what to do with his own show.
Well, yeah,
he
but
shouldn't be either.
He has escape velocity, right? He has so many followers. He can say things that are controversial. You and I can say things that are controversial, but the problem is we're small fish. We can be shot right out of the cannon. We can be done.
But at the end of the day, the internet is a wonderful place. You can always just, even if we're shot out of the cannon, we can always just set up another channel. It's
rebrand and fight the good fight again, sir. Once more to the breach, my friend.
I would never be bullied, I would say, or pushed to interview this person, not interview that person, or do this or do that.
But that's what happens with these streamers, the mid-range streamers. They have to start adhering to what it is their base wants, or they lose the base, and then they lose the likes and the clicks, and they lose the...
Yes. And that's a dog chasing their own tail, I feel. Because if you're going to go down the road of trying to be a voice in any space.
Well, right, but the thing is, there's a
you have to be true
serotonin.
to yourself as well.
Right, there's a serotonin and dopamine hit you get when you get success, when you get the likes, when you get the comments, when you get all that stuff,
and so on. Yeah,
you and I feel good when there's a positive comment. We feel strange when there's a negative comment, right?
Yeah,
but a lot of times the negative comments are from wildly unhinged people who are just screaming and yelling at us, as opposed to saying, "Hey, you know, I don't quite think the same way you do. Why do you guys think this way? I'll engage with you in the comments. I don't have a problem."
I do find it funny, because what people don't understand is Alex doesn't do most of the moderation. I do. So I'm the guy who goes and looks at all the held comments. And some of them are pretty unhinged.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I saw a couple of screamers and yellers. The alt
I decided to show you a few of them, but most of the time I'm just going, do you know what? Just go away.
Well, your thing is, don't engage with that, because it's not going to be a winning battle. They're, like you said, dug in. So
you're fighting with the sun. Most of it. These guys are some of them are completely unhinged. It's quite interesting.
Well, but again, there's also the anonymity thing on the side of that, right? So they can say those wild things that they would never say to somebody's face, right? If someone came up to me and started giving me the guff like that, I'd be like, bro, like, you need to relax.
Yeah, as I say, I always understand people roaring and shouting and going on. You wouldn't mind that. Sometimes a lot of these people go a bit overboard.
A bit.
The polite way of putting it.
A bit. All right.
Yeah, especially online. As you said, especially online, they think they can hide behind
there's
internet.
no consequences for the action. Yeah. You can say wild, nasty stuff and nobody's coming back on you. So here we go.
To suggest, and I wonder, I've sat there thinking, I wonder what Kathleen would think if she heard this person say that.
Yeah.
So, and again, luckily I brought my friend with me, so I witnessed all of these comments.
Which he would just say probably were normal, he would just be like, yeah, so what?
Yeah, but at the end of this interview, he just basically said, and I was like terrified, I was like, Jesus Christ, what have I done? And he said, if you went any further, did anything like this again, then you might have disciplinary action taken against you. And he said, it wouldn't be me if it happened, but I'm just warning you because I don't want you to get in trouble. And I said, I really appreciate that. And I promise I will not do anything like this again, because I'm in my last year of uni. I just want to graduate and get my degree. And so that was all put to bed. Obviously, I was wound up by it.
Of course she was wound up by it, right?
Yeah.
But for someone to say, you're in your last year, I will literally take all the things that you worked for away from you, because...
but not me personally. Right. This could happen.
Right.
That is a very nasty little threat.
Oh, it is.
And
it's for sure.
Especially to a young, as well spoken as she is, still a young lady.
Right.
That's a very nasty threat towards a student, especially a young student.
Right, absolutely.
Very nasty threat. And that kind of shows you, as you were saying before, the ivory tower mentality.
Right, they're insulated. And not only that, it's like any noise you make with your face, or any words you write, or any things you say that are recorded that can come up later, it's all going to be used against you. Like Katie Porter out of California, the gubernatorial candidate, said something wild that all the other Democrats in the state of California are like, I don't even know her. I got who's that?
I remember looking at that interview earlier. But it's like that. It's just a nasty attitude that the university had towards it. Was unbelievable. That's why I said I'll show you this. Unbelievable. As I say, I'm going to link to the full interview down below. Really, really good. Very well done.
Perfect.
Herself.
All right. For Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, help us beat the algorithm. We are out.